In a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
Hey guys, all right, so I just created my first little package here, my first rig. I have the other FX Lion battery as well. I'll be trying that. I also have a battery hinge that just came in, so this is just what I put together before those pieces came in, and this is one of the setups that I want to try. Part of the reason I'm interested in this anchor working is that it's so large. It's a 26,000 plus milliamp hour battery, which is significantly larger than the FX Lion. The FX Lion's just around 3,500 milliamps or a little less, I believe. So that's not nearly as big as this. Now what's interesting is that I feel like this is actually very well balanced. I mean, look at that. I'm curious in this little test to see, I'm not used to working with 8K footage. I've worked with 6K on the Red, like we're filming on now, but I want to try the 8K and I want to try walking this, see how close I can get to a Steadicam feel and see what warp stabilizer will do in post to 8K footage, because I just haven't gone to really try that yet. Hopefully it'll be great. Maybe I'll give it a try on the other rig some other time, but today it is this. I'm using a 16 to 35 millimeter lens, and it does have autofocus on it. I will be trying it both in 8K, and then I'm also gonna go ahead and switch over to 4K XAVC, where I can turn on the image stabilization inside the camera. It does not have IBIS, but it does have some level of internal image stabilization, just to see what that's like in comparison. That'll just be kind of a down and dirty quick test for today, trying to run the Canon EOS R5 C through its paces, because it's an exciting new camera to have, and I've been really happy with it so far. So here we go. Inside this is my son Tristan, and he will be the test subject for following on the imaginary gimbal system. Okay, so not the most mind-blowing results. However, it worked pretty good. Some of it was definitely usable. Like, I would be totally okay using what I got. Now, basically what I tested here was how the warp stabilizer would work on 8K footage, and also pairing it again, or putting it against the 4K XAVC, which then offers you to use the image stabilization that's in the camera. It is not IBIS. This is a different thing where it's just actually cropping in on your image a bit, so it's not actually moving your sensor like IBIS does. But this crop in, you know, it's already 4K and you're cropping in a bit, so you're losing some resolution, whereas with the 8K, I feel like overall, it worked just as good, if not better, than using the 4K with the image stabilization increase. So with the 8K, at least you then have the benefit of one, it looking the best. It does look better, it just has more depth to it and it has more color options and it's raw, so that's great. And then you have more flexibility to change it in post. But on top of that, you have the cropping ability. So it you know, obviously if you want to keep the data load down, it's fine to go with the 4K, XAVC. But overall, there's definitely moments where it's very usable, especially when I was walking backwards. Some of those shots, I was like, well, that's probably the best stuff. I personally have been walking backwards a lot. I've been doing the knees over toes guy routine, or aspects of his routine, for like half a year now. Been amazing, so I've gotten better at walking backwards. What I do want to point out though is that the actual, with like no warp stabilizer added to it, the feel of and look of the camera getting shaken a bit, where it actually does feel, because that's a look too for sure, that's used in movies a lot. You're actually walking the camera, there is shake to it. On the EOS R, it's not an option. I mean, it looks like Jello. There's definitely a real bad skew. It's not solid. But with this feels much more similar to my Red, the experience that I have. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's flawless. I bet if I swung it as fast as I could, there's gonna be some skew. You have a little bit of Jello, but I don't really shoot that way anyway. And when you do that, I mean, everything's a blur anyway. And it feels actually real solid. Like, this is actually I liked the look a lot of just the handheld. So that's now definitely an option. I feel a lot safer using this camera to go handheld, whereas I really considered it not an option unless the EOS R was, well, I just really liked it on a tripod or a gimbal. I haven't really liked it handheld much, whereas this feels more like a cinema camera, the way that it handles the shake, so I like that a lot. I have a R5C 2. I'm gonna put this camera on there. It does not fit. However, it could fit maybe just if I only used it straight up, and maybe if I just flipped it upside down, that might be an option. Why would I care about doing that when I have a Crane 3S that could most certainly handle it? The Crane 3S is a lot bigger, and there's some certain moves. It might be nice to have a smaller gimbal, something easier to travel with, and just knowing that I could get steady shots even if I can't lay it in underslung mode. I mean, maybe that's just a limitation trying to use it on the RC. I think the weight limit is not going to be an issue, but I'll do a test on here, see how that goes, and I'll put it on the Zenyu Crane 3S. I can leave it more rigged up on the Crane 3S. That would be nice, and I could also use a bigger battery, so then I could get my 60 frames per second in 8K when I want it. That's still not something I'm using much yet. The data load is already, it's so intense on the computer. I've been talking about this experience of editing it. However, the older version of Premiere is still pulling through. I'm doing all my projects in 2021 Premiere. If you need to know more information about that, here, check this video out. I talk about what my experience is, and I show examples of using the most recent version of Premiere, the version that was a couple, well, really the version that was a couple of iterations back was also bad. So really it's the 2021 version that's working well. All right, guys, I'll keep posting little experiments and tests with this Canon EOS RC. It's exciting, it's fun. I really like the camera, and the imagery that's coming out of it's awesome. So yeah, all right guys, take care, peace.
Movie Voice.